I predict the will win the minor premiership for 2023.
It's probably the worst prediction of the year. Hello guys, it's 899 here and welcome to a video I've actually been dreading. Obviously, NRL season ended about a month ago, so it's kind of time to reflect and hold myself accountable and make myself humble. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be reacting to my 2023 NRL season predictions. It's been a while since I've actually looked at them, but I can fairly admit I think it's going to be quite bad because of some teams' performances doing well and other teams not going well. So I think without further ado, let's just get things started.
Hello guys, it's 899 here and welcome to...
Okay, so we can acknowledge that I look like a fat Bronson. No one's going to get that reference, but I personally will.
Who is getting the wooden spoon? There's a lot of contenders, but this one might shock some people on who I think is going to get the wooden spoon. I think it's going to be the St. George Illawarra Dragons.
Like, it's obviously fairly understandable. Obviously, it didn't happen, but yeah, pretty much. I feel like most people did because the amount of dramas that were going around the club at the time. Also, this was even before the whole Ben Hunt situation of like, no, I don't want to play for the club. You will play for the club sort of ordeal. So it kind of made a lot of sense to put the Dragons there. I mean, admittedly very close, but with the Tigers going back to back. But, you know, I think it's not the worst pick it could have possibly been for this season.
Now we're going into the bottom four, technically, just above the wooden spoon, starting out with number 16, and I'm going to go with the Redcliffe Dolphins.
Obviously, yep, that is going to be an interesting one to try to predict. You have, like, it was a brand new team. I don't think anybody really expected them to high. Obviously, I think everybody was kind of bricking it in the early parts of the season when, you know, the Dolphins actually went, you know, surprisingly well to start the year, but form kind of caught up with them. And yeah, I think they've done well. I think they finished 13, so it wasn't too far off to say the least.
Now moving on to 15th position, still into the bottom four, and I'm going to put in the New Zealand Warriors.
Okay, let's just get this out of the way. No one in their right mind thought the Warriors were going to come in the top four this year. I'm sorry, anyone who says otherwise is a fucking liar or a psychopath. Because, let's face it, no one expected this. Pretty much, from what this the ladder golf thing, which will be coming out, trying to see what the kind of trends were, no one put the Warriors in the top 8. I think pretty much nearly all of them put them in the bottom 4. Some had them at probably as high as 12. It was a fantastic season from the Warriors, and fair play to them, like they did excruciatingly well. They were one win away from a grand final, but it's like, and obviously you had the bandwagon and stuff like that, but it's like, yeah, preseason, no one gave them a hope in hell. It's just, everyone's a turncoat, and it was like, oh, you're a fucking idiot, how did you not see the Warriors? Yeah, fucking, because there was an indicator the Warriors were going to come fucking fourth. Blow me.
Now sticking in, going into the number 14th position, and I am going to go with the Canberra Raiders.
Yeah, let's be honest, how the hell Canberra keep getting themselves into the finals and stuff like that is ridiculous. I mean, it's probably the worst team ever make the finals, but then again, the game they did play in the finals took them into extra time, as the Knights had several chances to put the game to bed, but they decided not to. But yeah, Canberra finished 8th. I mean, it's also a team no one really expected to make that, especially in that late sort of charge. But yeah, fair play to them.
To number 13th, I'm actually going to go with the West Tigers.
Everybody had the Tigers sort of improving this year, and I had the same thought as well, with obviously bringing in upper side Coruscant, but of course it didn't work out as well. They did beat Penrith, but which was interesting. I do think they should be able to not come last again. Because I feel like if they do come last again, I think honestly it probably could beat the Knights 3 spoons. I think probably that's a hot take. That's a fucking debate for another day. But yeah, thought the Tigers would do well. Like a lot of people are better than what they are, but just didn't.
So starting out in 12th position, I'm going to go with the Manly Seagulls.
It wasn't too far off with Manly. It's I think one of my main reasons I put them in there is because it just had no solidified forwards. And they also had a bit of time where they were playing like Schuster as a 6. It was a weird time for Manly. I do think they are starting to get a bit better. They just need to keep Tom Trbojevic healthy. They are getting Luke Brooks in, which I'm excited to see how that goes. Probably going to play him at the 6. And I do think that Manly should be able to push themselves into the top 8 next year, but it's just Turbo just getting injured. It's like it's a very frustrating thing, and it definitely would be a lot more for Manly fans.
Now going into 11th, and I'm going to put the Gold Coast Titans.
The Titans, they're very much an interesting one. They've had the thing is they weren't even overall that bad, and it's like obviously they ended up finishing 14th. But Bo Fermor getting his ACL before the start of the season probably definitely put a number on them, because I think he's one of the most consistent players in the NRL. But I think next year, I think the Titans are going to be a team to watch. I think they'll crack the 8. And it'll be exciting to see, obviously, with Des Hasler now in charge. Fermor back from his injury. Fafita, if he stays. Tino staying. I think if you keep the core players as it is currently, I think they should go all right. Or it blows up in their face and then Hasler gets the sack immediately. Who knows?
Now moving into 10th place, and I'm actually going to put the Newcastle Knights in, my team.
So with the Newcastle Knights, it was a weird thing, because obviously as a Knights fan, it's like I want them to do well. A lot of people had them in like, the bottom 4. A few of them had them in getting the wooden spoon this year. And I just thought it's like, I think we're going to try to get a little bit better and stuff like that. And I felt like we were going to finish in like that 10th, 11th spot until the Knights decided to go on an 10 or 11 game winning streak and then have ongoing the best home record in the NRL, I think, unless the Warriors count or whatever about that. But obviously Dominic Young is leaving next year, so for 2024, a lot of people saying they're going to just nosedive, but I think we're good enough to stay at N as long as we keep Bradman Best, because if that's the case, we're in trouble. But I think the Knights can still cling onto the 8, but it's who knows.
And going out with the 9th place team, the team that will just miss the finals, and it's going to be a big one, I'm putting the Sydney Roosters in 9th place.
This right here, for so long, right coming up to the last couple of games, actually could have happened. If it wasn't for the fucking game against South Sydney where the Roosters ended up winning, it prevented the Roosters coming 9th. And I would have had the absolute Nostradamus-like prediction, because everybody in this season had the Roosters going either top 2 or being minor premiers. It's just, and I just didn't see it happening. I didn't think they were probably good enough. Now, 2024 with Dominic Young coming in, and them probably going to be signing all of the rugby players, because there's going to be no cap issues to trying to sign rugby players over. So that means the whole Wallabies team will probably be playing for the Roosters. But it's just, the Roosters obviously ended up finishing 7th and then going one game away from a prelim final, and it's just, yeah, they were good, and just kind of prevented probably one of the greatest predictions of all time. But
now we go into the top 8, and if it wasn't the Roosters I was going to be in there, I just revealed who it was. I think in 8th place is going to be the Melbourne Storm.
Yeah, the Storm were another weird one. It's like I felt like they were going to drop off a little bit because of like some of the players. And I've kind of said it was kind of like one of the weaker Storm teams, but they just kept playing to their strength, and they got into the top 4, and they played really well. And it's like, I'll tell you what, that new bloke that they started in that final round game against the Broncos, I cannot wait for that player. He's going to develop so much. I think he's going to be a massive star. And it shows that the Storm can recruit players like no team can.
Now we're going into 7th place, so we've got the Cronulla Sharks.
It is weird with the Sharks, because it's like, I think for the last couple of years, like Fox League have had them stated as having like one of the easiest schedules, but they just can't take the chances. I mean, they were 2nd, not like in 2022, and lost both finals games. They come 6th in 2023, and then lose in a game they probably should have won against the Roosters. So it's one of those things. I genuinely think the Sharks could be one of the teams that will drop out of the 8 next year, 100%. Especially with some of the players leaving, it's just, I don't know, I can't really trust the Sharks.
6th place is going to be the Brisbane Broncos.
Yeah, Brisbane, I did say them were going to be in the top 8. They did, they came 2nd. They probably should have won the minor premiership. But yeah, Brisbane were just really properly hit their stride. And I think, I don't know why, but it was kind of symbolic. It's like that 2020 game, the grand final between the Storm and Penrith, was kind of like a passing of the torch from the Storm to Penrith. And I feel like, for some reason, it kind of felt the same way with that 2023 grand final. It did kind of feel like a bit of a passing of the torch to Brisbane. So, who knows, we might get Brisbane dominance again.
Rounding out the bottom of the top 8 to go in 5th place, it is going to be the grand finals from last year, the Parramatta Eels.
Parramatta 5th. I'm going to be completely honest. The way Parramatta were actually still somewhat in finals contention right up till relatively near the end was astonishing. I think they were... I don't think they were crap. I just think they had some of their games where they were kind of helped over and just they shouldn't have won. Like, I think they should have been a lot lower than what they finished in 10th. But Parramatta, I don't know, it's going to be another thing as well in terms of trying to improve. I heard there's this rumour about this Madison and Addo Carr swap. Who knows? But Parramatta are going to be another team that I think are going to be in this sort of similar position as where they finished, but I don't think they're going to make the 8. It's going to be weird for Parramatta next year.
Going into the top 4 now, and at 4th place, it is going to be the South Sydney Rabbitohs.
South Sydney. Yeah, it's just I thought they would properly improve, but it seems like over the last couple of years they've gotten worse somehow, and it's, I don't know. I'm very excited to see how Jack Whiten goes next year, but it's like, I am concerned that they're not going to be on the same stride unless, Latrell Mitchell comes in and properly steps up for next year, which I hope he does. It's a weird thing with South Sydney at the moment. It's like they're in that battle with the Roosters. Basically, whoever wins plays finals. And there was a way that both teams couldn't have made finals, which would have been really funny. But yeah, Souths are just a bit weird at the moment. It's I think they can bounce back, but they've got a good youth system as well, like the New South Wales Cup team. So they've definitely got bountiful players for their youth.
Now going into 3rd place, and it is going to be the Canterbury Bulldogs. I swear to God, if the Bulldogs don't make the finals this year, there is something horribly wrong.
I think the only thing horribly wrong is me putting the Bulldogs 3rd. What the fuck? But yeah, obviously the Bulldogs didn't make the finals this year. They're just... I don't know. I'm going to be honest. In 2024, if they don't make the finals this year, I'll just blow them up. But the thing is, though, coming into think of it, so I saw someone explain about how Phil Gould pretty much developed this whole Penrith situation on how they've gotten all their youth teams winning, and then they've got their players coming in and have a dynasty now. So it's kind of working with the Bulldogs, and I do trust in it that it will work. I do think within the next 5 years, the Bulldogs will have a premiership. But I'm calling, I do think it's very much likely, but it's just, it's one of those things with the Dogs, and it's probably the worst prediction of the year. But then again, also, a lot of people did expect the Bulldogs to do well, but there were some that didn't, so, who knows.
This might be a bit, again, another bit of controversy. I predict the North Queensland Cowboys will win the minor premiership for 2023.
Done that. I definitely think Hammer was one of the big players that was a miss for the Cowboys, obviously him going to the Dolphins. But I don't know, it was just, at the time I just thought it was like, Penrith have to drop off at some point. But they didn't. And the Cowboys obviously, that's actually probably one of the worst picks in hindsight, but I think at the time for some reason for me it made sense. So those were my predictions, and this was my reaction to them. I think I did not great, but I feel like in terms of contrast to other people, it's kind of sort of the same alignment of thinking of at the time, pretty much it's just the Knights and the Warriors doing really well and the Bulldogs doing really badly. How do you guys look back on your pre-season predictions? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you all very much for watching. Later will come out next week where we can compare myself and see, am I the worst predictor out of 16 other YouTubers? So should be all good. Thank you all for watching. See you later.